So let's go. All right, from bottom to top, the power of life corresponds to the reproductive organs, right? And by the way, this is in your handout, so you don't have to try to write it down. You know, I did a little summary in your handout. Reproductive organs, right? So that, and it's associated, the power of a life is associated with that animating life force, that animating life energy. It's our power to move forward, onward, upward. So if there's anything going on there, we might, want to look at, has there been a diminishment of that life energy? Have we gotten stuck? Is there anywhere in our life where we feel like stagnating, or we've gotten stuck, or that diminishment of vitality, which is our ability to connect with and fully enjoy life? All right, so moving on up to the power of release, which corresponds to the organs of elimination appropriately. Right? So if you got any issues there, then you might want to look at, am I having difficulty, is it like, do I have a little bit of hoarding going on and I'm having difficulty releasing physical things, or releasing old attitudes, or releasing resentments? If so, you might want to work at that. Now, if you got kind of the opposite thing going on, a little too free-flowing, then you might want to look at, it's like you're going, is she really talking about this, right? Minister here on the platform at a church is talking about this. If it's not practical, if spirituality isn't practical, what is it good for, right? So, so sometimes we get practical. So again, if that's the issue, you might want to look at your self-care. Are you giving love and nourishment to yourself, right? So look at that. Okay, so now we have the power of order, which corresponds to our organs of digestion. So the power of order, right, is to know that the divine order, there is divine order, even when we can't see it, even when it looks chaotic, to know that there is divine order. So it's an issue of trust. And I know I have this going on too. So I'm working on this one. An issue of trust, of trusting the divine order is there even when I can't see it. You know how some people say, you've heard the expression, I can't stomach that, or that's hard to swallow. My mom used to say that a lot. She had a lot of stomach trouble too, And so there's a little bit of, I think it's about resistance. There's a resistance to what is. So a good affirmation here might be, I trust that everything is working together for my good. Let's say that together. I trust that everything is working together for my good. You can just sort of relax into that, right? Okay, so the next one we want to go around to the back here, and this is strength. The power of strength is located at the small of the back. Anybody got anything going on with the small of the back? So that really relates to our staying rooted in your spiritual power. Your spiritual power, and relying on that spiritual power to enhance your courage, your tenacity, the ability to stand undaunted in shifting circumstances. That's a good affirmation too. Let's say that. I stand undaunted in shifting circumstances. Yeah, that's a good one to work on. Okay, so the next one is wisdom, the power of wisdom. Not in the brain, as most people think. It corresponds to the solar plexus, which, I think Charles Fillmore was ahead of his time with this one, because science is now telling us that our gut, think gut instinct, our gut is like a second brain. So there's that. So think about that. So if it's anything going on there, or any of the other internal organs are kind of in that area, we might want to work at the idea of developing a stronger sense of discernment. This is and separating discernment from judgment. We want to release the judgment. They're two different things, right? We want to release judgment and enhance that power of discernment. Also, the power of wisdom is associated with intuition. So we might want to develop a stronger relationship with our intuition, listening to the intuition, following it. All of those ideas, the power of wisdom. The power of love, of course, you know where that's located, right? Right here in the heart, right? So if you got, any issues with the heart, you might want to work at how can I open more fully to that infinite divine love that is pouring itself through me all the time, and just share that more widely. Sharing it more widely with, universal love, agape love. Also, the power of love is associated with that magnetizing power of our heart's desires. So that might be a fun place to play, right? That power of love is a magnetizing power for our heart's desires. All right? Okay, now moving on up, the power of power, which is located right here at the throat. You get sore throats a lot. I used to get sore throats a lot. This has to do with your spiritual authority. As you guys were singing, this is your power to speak your word, right? Speak your truth. And speak the word for good in your life and in the world. And also, sometimes these powers work better together. So the power of power is really good to work with wisdom. So we want to very often discern when it's a good time to speak up and when maybe it's a good time to keep it to ourselves. So the discernment, working with that spiritual authority. All right, a power of zeal is located right here at the back of the neck, right? So you got any neck issues? Oh, I do occasionally have neck issues. So that is the power of zeal, of course, is our zest for living, right? The zest for living. So has there been any, maybe has it waned, your zest for living as you've gotten older? Has it begun to wane? Or has it dampened because of what's going on in the world? So if so, this is the time to re-engage that power of zeal, that zest for living. Also, the shoulders are kind of here in that same area. So that kind of has to do with the same thing. But also, as I was talking to somebody, I think last week about this, and a lot of people are having shoulder issues these days. To me, the intuition is, well, do you feel like you're shouldering too much responsibility? Is it you're taking on too much? Do you feel overburdened? If so, time to lighten your load. And again, re-engage that power of zeal, of zest by doing things that you love. Okay, so now the next 4 powers are located in the head, in and around your head. So as I talk about them, just use your intuition to see if anything clicks for you, if you resonate with any of these ideas. All right, so the first is a power of imagination, which is kind of the third eye area. And this is our ability to picture what can be in the midst of its opposite. So, or what has not been yet, what hasn't been developed, to be able to see something that just hasn't been manifested yet, to be able to see peace and harmony in a world of conflict. That takes imagination. That takes the power to envision. So you might want to work on that. The next two powers are in the frontal lobe here. So the first one is the power of will, and that's the ability to decide, your power to decide, and then to make a commitment to seeing that through. To seeing through what you've decided, what you've chosen, a willingness to do what needs to be done to achieve a worthwhile goal. And then next to that is a power of understanding. That power of understanding, that's, comprehension, insight, realization. And that is also our ability to discover that connection between our thoughts and our feelings and what's going on in our body and our lives. What we're doing today, we are exercising our power of understanding by doing this kind of work. All right, last power of faith was just located in the middle of the brain. And the best way to describe that, I think, is just to use Charles Fillmore's definition of faith, which I think is so beautiful, and I want to read that now. Faith is the perceiving power of the mind linked with a power to shape substance. It is spiritual assurance, the power to do the seemingly impossible. It is a force that draws to us our heart's desires right out of the invisible spiritual substance. It is a deep inner knowing that that which is sought is already ours for the taking. The assurance of things hoped for. Isn't that beautiful? Yeah. All right, so these 12 powers, you see, these 12 powers can give us clues as to what our body might be telling us needs adjustment. Adjustment not just physically, but spiritually and mentally and emotionally, what we need to bring back in alignment, what we need to work on. And when we learn about the 12 powers and what they represent, and we learn to use them wisely, it can be a real game changer.